All right. Quick little video. Additional thoughts for Slick Rick and the Great Adventures of Slick Rick. Cool album. Not the best thing I've ever heard in my life. Not the favorite album I've ever had. But overall, I'm glad I sit down with it. It is cool to go back to these older albums, right? And just hear things, both to get a reference of how they have evolved since then, both in terms of like production techniques, lyrical techniques, rapping styles, themes. I mean, just everything, right? I mean, you go back to a song that's made almost 40 years ago. It's like a time capsule in a way. I got some links, Children's Story. I kind of recognized the beat. I was like, oh, this sounds a little familiar, but I didn't really know where it was from. And I was sent that link. Oh God, I forget the name of the artist now, but This Is How We Do It. I was like, oh my God, that's right. That's right. That song. I know that song, but it was, of course, sampled from Children's Story. What else? Someone sent me a nice post of all the lyrics. Well, I don't know if it was all lyrics, but a multitude of lyrics of different lines that made references to either Slick Rick or to the album or to a song from the album. So that's kind of neat. It's always cool when you see the music or hear the music that inspires the artist that you're listening to now, and something just crashed big time. The kitties are raising hell somewhere in the house right now. They've knocked over a potted plant the other day. That was fun. My wife was very excited about that. They knocked over Lego Groot this morning. I was very excited about that. Murderous bastards they are, killing Lego Groot. Anyway, let's see. I put a note for The Ruler's Back. Something that's neat about this album and the production. You can tell it's not modern style of production. You can tell they're using older equipment, more challenging equipment. And so it's kind of neat to hear these like producer solos, these producer playouts, these producer just like jam sessions where they're really going after it on the production side. Because you don't necessarily hear that as much anymore. It's something that I suppose went away as technology advanced and it just became easier to make these cleaner cuts and these tighter beats. There really wasn't as much of a need to show off your scratching ability or your cuts or anything like that. So it is kind of cool when you listen to this and hear that type of production style, because it just doesn't really happen anymore. And, I did notice the moment I feared that track, the audio quality is not necessarily that great. There was another one too. I think that one's not as bad, but I feel like those two tracks in terms of the audio quality, not necessarily. There's one of those murderous bastards now. Right there, those kitties, those bastard kitties. They're wonderful though. They're wonderful. Ruler's Back, I really enjoy. Let's Get Crazy, I really enjoy. Teacher's cool. Oh, we're gonna try to redeem ourselves with cuteness. Is that what's gonna happen? You're gonna squirm away. High quality content today. Very focused and deliberate video. Indian Girl, I did not listen to again. I will never listen to it again. It was really an odd track to me, both just in what was happening, but also that, it exists, that it was okay to make it back in the day. Just odd. But at the same time, I also find that, in a way, it's kind of refreshing. It does show that society is changing. Some will argue society is not changing for the better, but in my opinion, if you look around, if you pay attention, there's lots of ways that society has changed for the better. And a song like Indian Girl is a good example of that, because that song is awful. So awful for all the wrong reasons. And hopefully, for the most part, people who've moved on from something like that. I've got a note about Slick Rick in terms of his style. You hear these like, and of course I'm not an expert, but when you hear some of these older rap songs, the style of rapping back then it's I don't want to say antiquated, but it has that style from way back in the day. But what's neat about Slick Rick and what he's doing is even in that style I think the storytelling that he does through his lyrics is helps this, but it doesn't feel antiquated. It doesn't feel old necessarily. It still feels cool. It's still fun to listen to. He still captivates even if it isn't the most complex thing you've ever heard. You know, it doesn't have a ton of variety like the modern artists have today. And it's okay. It's fine. It's still an enjoyable rap style, which is neat. You know, it is interesting, especially like with metal, when you hear certain things and you think back to kind of the outrage that people expressed. And hell, you could even go beyond music. Like I remember when Beavis and Butthead, the parents and the media were all upset about Beavis and Butthead. It was so terrible. And if you watch it now, it's just the most timid, ridiculous, almost boring TV show you've ever seen. And I remember times with metal, listening to certain metal albums, like, oh my God, this is so heavy, this is so hard, it's crazy. And then I go back to it now as metal has evolved, and I go, yeah, it's still great music, I like it, but no, it sounds a little different now, you know? And you can still enjoy it, and much like Slick Rick, you can still enjoy it, but you can just hear the evolution, and it's cool. That's a cool thing to be able to experience. I mean, as a music lover, I think all of us are benefiting right now from the fact that we can touch a piece of glass that we're holding in our hand and almost literally play any song that's ever been made. That's kind of wild. It's really wild. I guess that's it. My train of thought has been quite scattered, as you guys probably noticed throughout the video. Cool album. Again, not my favorite. It's not the best thing I've ever heard. I don't really, have any strong opinions either way, but I am glad I took the time to sit down with it, listen to what's regarded as a classic, and just get a little bit more of those hip-hop roots in my knowledge bag. And hopefully I come back to it every now and then. I've been trying to do that this year with different albums. The ones I haven't put on recently, put it on again. I think this is important for any music that you listen to, whatever it is, hip-hop, rock, whatever. Go back to an album you haven't heard in a year or two. Maybe you didn't think it was that great, and that's why you don't listen to it, obviously. Put it on again. Maybe it sounds a little better. Maybe it sounds even worse. Who knows? But it is kind of neat when you listen to it again, and it's been a while, because your tastes change and your ears change and all that kind of stuff. So I hope to revisit Adventures again. And yeah, I guess that's it. There you go. Speaking of revisiting, so tomorrow will be Monster by Future. And I'll talk about this tomorrow too, but I put on DS2 again recently because it's been a while and I wasn't really, necessarily blown away when I did my week with that album. But when I listened to it the other day, I was like, oh, I kind of actually like this a bit more than I remember from before. It sounds like a little bit of heavier trap, a little bit of a darker tone trap. So I was like, oh, okay. And of course, Metro and Future have their collab coming in 2 weeks. So we're going to listen to Monster tomorrow in preparation for that. And yeah, there you go. That's it. All right, y'all. Take care.